The Tower of the Hand stood quiet, shrouded in the kind of heavy silence that followed hard decisions. Lord Eddard Stark sat at his desk, the cool stone beneath his hands grounding him, though his mind raced. The sun had barely touched the horizon, casting long orange streaks across the sky, the color of blood and fire, the kind of sky that reminded him of war. Jaime Lannister stood across from him, the Kingslayer, golden-haired and unbothered, though his green eyes watched Ned carefully, waiting for judgment. Ned had summoned him alone, without guards or ceremony. A private audience. The room smelled of parchment, old wood, and the faintest trace of lemon oil from Sansa's presence earlier. She always lingered with sweetness, even in tension. "I know what you did," Ned finally said, voice low, like a distant rumble of thunder. Jaime tilted his head. "You'll have to be more specific, Stark. I've done many things worth your scorn." "You pushed my son," Ned said flatly. There it was, no denial, no bluster, no lies. "And yet he's alive," Jaime replied, voice cool though not mocking. "A miracle, perhaps, or fate." Ned rose slowly, walking around the desk until he stood face to face with the man he'd despised for years. "I should have your head for it, but killing you," he paused, eyes narrowing, "would only light the fuse. Your sister would see it as war. Robert wouldn't stop her, and the blood would drown us all." Jaime raised a brow. "You surprise me, Stark. I thought you only knew how to hold a sword, not weigh consequences." "I do," Ned said, "which is why I'm not going to kill you. Instead, I want you to help me bring your sister down." For the first time, Jaime flinched. "Help you," he echoed. "You're not loyal to her," Ned said. "You never were. You stayed because you had no other choice. But now, I think you want out. And I think you care more about that boy than you let on." A long silence passed. Jaime's gaze flicked to the window. Outside, the Red Keep stood proud, a symbol of power built on secrets and lies. "You really think I'd betray Sir?" he said at last, voice colder. "I think you already have." Jaime didn't deny it. He sighed, rubbed the bridge of his nose, and whispered, "I killed the Mad King to save King's Landing. And what did I get? Scorn. Silence. They called me monster." "I know," Ned replied. "I judged you wrongly back then. Perhaps I was wrong again." For the first time, there was something fragile in Jaime's eyes. He looked tired, like a man who had carried a crown of thorns beneath his smug smiles and golden armor. "What do you want me to do?" "Tell me everything. Every secret your sister hides, every move she plans. And in return, I will keep your name clean, your honor intact, or as close to it as you'll ever get." Jaime looked at him for a long time, then slowly smiled, not mockingly, but something bitter, almost grateful. "You may regret this, Stark." "I already regret everything," Ned said quietly. That night, Jaime Lannister left Ned's chambers a different man, and Eddard Stark went to sleep with a growing ache in his chest, not just for Bran or for the North, but for the storm he had just invited into his own halls. Because forgiveness had a cost, and trust, especially in a lion, was a gamble the wolf may yet regret. The next morning, King's Landing stirred with its usual unrest, whispers in alleys, gold cloaks half drunk on duty, the scent of rot and roses fighting for dominance in the air. But behind the doors of the Tower of the Hand, something had changed. Ned Stark wasn't just Hand of the King anymore. He had become something far more dangerous. A man with secrets. Jaime Lannister returned, just as promised, just after sunrise. He came cloaked in a plain tunic, no Kingsguard armor, no lions roaring on his chest, only steel in his eyes. "You'd better have wine," he muttered as he stepped inside. "If I'm going to betray my family, I want something in my cup." Ned poured without a word. He didn't drink. Jaime took a long pull and began. "The boys saw too much. That's why Cersei wanted him dead. It wasn't just an affair. It's worse than you think." Ned listened, unmoving. "She's been poisoning Robert," Jaime said. "Not enough to kill, just to weaken him. Keep him drunk, dull his senses, ruin his health slowly, and she's had Lancel dosing his wine. The fool thinks it's loyalty. It's treason." Ned's grip on the wine jug tightened. "And the children?" he asked, already knowing. "None of them are Robert's," Jaime said. "Joffrey, Myrcella, Tommen, they're mine." Ned's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. He had suspected he had found the truth in a book, in the hair of bastards. But hearing it from Jaime, that made it real. "She'll kill you if she even thinks you know this," Jaime added. "She almost killed your son over it. She'll do worse to you. And yet you're telling me," Ned said, staring at him. Jaime gave a dry laugh. "Maybe I'm tired of being her sword. Maybe I'm tired of being the Kingslayer, when the Queen deserves that name more than I ever did." Ned leaned back in his chair. "We expose this. She falls." Jaime nodded, but not quietly. "You understand that, right? She'll burn this city to the ground if she feels it slipping from her fingers." Ned was silent for a long time. Then he said, "I'll need proof. And I'll need time." "You don't have much," Jaime warned. "She suspects something's wrong. She's already watching you." That evening, Ned met with Littlefinger. The greasy smirk never left the man's face, but even he noticed something colder in the Northman's gaze. "You're playing the game now, Lord Stark," Littlefinger said as he poured himself a goblet of Arbor Red. "I'm both impressed and terrified." "I need the City Watch," Ned said. "Loyal men, ones who won't fold if Cersei commands them." "Ah," Littlefinger replied, lips twitching. "Plotting a coup in your own quiet northern way." "I'm preventing a war," Ned snapped. Littlefinger leaned in, voice low. "I can give you gold cloaks, but only if you let me choose the commander." Ned hesitated. "I'll need to trust you," he said finally. "You already do, or we wouldn't be having this conversation." That night, Ned sent a raven to Stannis. He didn't use the usual sigil. The letter was simple, clear, and damning. Stannis Baratheon was the rightful heir. Joffrey was no king. War was coming, and allies had to be chosen now. Meanwhile, Cersei Lannister began to feel the walls closing in. Maids went quiet when she entered rooms. Varys watched her too closely. Jaime was more distant than ever. She could sense it. The whisper of betrayal, the slow peeling away of loyalty she once owned. She summoned Grand Maester Pycelle. "I want Bran Stark dead," she whispered. "No chances, no mercy." Pycelle blinked. "But, my lady, the boy is crippled." "Then he's defenseless," she snapped. "Do it, quietly." And somewhere in the shadows, Varys listened. In Winterfell, Bran Stark awoke from a dream of three-eyed ravens and golden towers crumbling in flame. He didn't understand it, but he remembered the face of the man who had pushed him. And he remembered, not hate, something else, a warning. The heat in King's Landing clung to the skin like sweat-soaked guilt. Rumors thickened the air, crawling through brothels, kitchens, and corridors like rats after spilled wine. Ned Stark felt it pressing on him every time he left the tower. Of the hand, eyes followed him, some out of curiosity, some out of fear, and some out of hatred. Circe knew. Not everything, not yet, but enough to be dangerous. He met Jaime again, this time in the training yard, swords clashing loud to cover words that would hang them both if overheard. The clang of steel was their church bell, their confession booth. "You sent word to Stannis," Jaime said, parrying a lazy blow. "I did," Ned confirmed. "He'll come. He's cold, but not blind. If anyone has a claim, it's him." Jaime's blade rang out. "He'll bring war." Ned lowered his sword slightly. "It's already here. I'm just trying to choose who dies in it." Jaime scoffed. "Still, think you can pick the right deaths?" "I have to." That was the thing about Eddard Stark. His morals weren't just bones, they were his spine. Even when the whole world was breaking, he stood. But even spines snap. That night, Arya found her father at his desk, staring into candlelight. She stood silently, fidgeting, until he looked up. "Do you think all Lannisters are evil?" she asked suddenly. Ned frowned, taken aback. "Why would you ask that?" "Everyone says so. Sansa does. The kitchen girls whisper it too, that they're wicked lions." He sighed, motioning her over. She climbed into the chair beside him, all wild hair and sharper eyes than most men noticed. "People aren't born evil," he said quietly. "They choose it. Some because they're afraid, others because it's easier than doing right." She nodded slowly. "So, what about Sir Jaime?" Ned hesitated. She always cut right to the marrow. "He's trying to change," Ned said finally. "We'll see if he can." Meanwhile, deep in the bowels of the Red Keep, Varys met with Littlefinger under the flickering torchlight of the dungeons. "You're playing both sides, Lord Baelish," Varys said, expression unreadable. "Isn't everyone?" Littlefinger smiled. "Except Stark. He still thinks honor is enough too. Win wars." "Honor's a poor shield against wildfire," Varys murmured. Littlefinger leaned closer. "What if I told you Ned Stark has the Kingslayer in his pocket?" Varys blinked. "Impossible, is it?" Littlefinger's grin widened. "Cersei thinks so. That's why she's growing desperate." Varys narrowed his eyes. "Desperate queens are dangerous. You've seen what she's capable of, which is why I'm putting my coin on Stark. For now, across the sea of red walls and golden banners in the queen's chambers," Cersei stared out her window, knuckles white around a goblet of wine. "Tell me the truth," she said to her brother when he entered without knocking. "Are you with me or against me?" Jaime leaned against the door, face unreadable. "I'm tired, Cersei." "That's not an answer." "No," he said. Flatly, "It isn't." Something passed between them then. Not love, not hate. Something older, colder, like the echo of a crime long committed and never forgiven. "You're weak," she spat. "That's what Father always said. You always need someone to save." "No," he said. "I just stopped saving the wrong people." Cersei's eyes darkened. "If you turn on me, I will burn everything." He didn't flinch. "I believe you." Elsewhere, Ned's letter reached Dragonstone. Stannis Baratheon read it once, twice, then crumpled it in his fist. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He simply said, "Prepare the fleet." And in Winterfell, Bran dreamed again of a lion bowing to a wolf, of a crown made of ice and blood, and of a raven that whispered only one word: choose. 3 days later, the sun rose over King's Landing with an eerie stillness, like the calm before a blade draws blood. The court buzzed louder than usual, nervous servants, stammering squires, and whispers slipping through the halls like smoke. Cersei Lannister had summoned the council early, and Ned knew what that meant. She was making her move. He entered the council chamber calmly, cloak rustling behind him. Jaime was already there, silent in the corner, no longer in armor. Varys gave Ned a slow glance, his hands folded like a man in prayer. Littlefinger wore his usual smirk, but something in his eyes betrayed tension. Then Cersei walked in, regal, calculating, with Tommen at her side and Seer Marintrant at her back. She didn't even try to pretend. "My Lord Hand," she said sweetly, "I hear you've been writing letters. Dangerous ones." Ned didn't flinch. "I've written the truth." Cersei tilted her head. "And truth is treason now. When it threatens the realm," Ned said, "it becomes duty." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Then I hope you understand mine." The doors opened behind her. In marched 5 gold cloaks, swords already drawn. Ned turned sharply, but to his surprise, they weren't pointing at him. They moved towards Seer Marintrant. Littlefinger spoke first, voice dry, as requested. "Lord Stark, my men." Jaime didn't move. He just watched Cersei. For the first time, she looked unsure. Her eyes darted between them. "Jaime, Ned, Littlefinger, even Varys. You think this makes you safe?" she said, eyes narrowing. "Robert is dead." The room froze. "What?" Ned breathed. She smiled again, wider this time. "He died last night. Hunting accident, they'll say. A boar gored him, or so Pycelle will testify." Jaime stepped forward. "You poisoned him." "He was a drunk and a fool," she snapped. "The kingdom will be better without him." "You murdered the king," Ned said, fury rising. "I did what I had to do," she hissed. "Just like you, Lord Stark. But the difference is—" "You lost," Jaime cut in, stepping beside Ned. She stared at him, eyes wide. "You ... traitor." "I saved a kingdom once by killing a mad king," Jaime said softly. "I'm doing it again." Cersei's lips trembled, and for the first time in her life, the queen was speechless. Ned turned to the gold cloaks. "Take her, gently, for the children's sake." They moved without question. Marintrant tried to draw, but Jaime was on him in a heartbeat. Steel clashed. Blood hit the floor. It was over in seconds. Cersei didn't fight. She just stared at Jaime as if she'd never seen him before. Outside, bells rang for King Robert's death. The mourning had begun, public, loud, fake. Behind the scenes, ravens flew. One to Stannis, one to Renly, one to Winterfell, and one secretly to the Eyrie. That night, Ned stood over Robert's body, silent. The man was bloated, broken, but he had been a friend once. A fool, but a friend. "I failed you," he whispered. "I should have stopped this sooner." Jaime joined him. "I hated him, you know," he said. "Robert, for how he treated her. For how he used his crown like a hammer." Ned glanced, sideways. "And yet you were the one who ended up protecting his realm." Jaime gave a bitter laugh. "Funny, isn't it?" Ned nodded. "It's not over," Jaime added. "Cersei has friends. Lannister gold runs deep. We'll meet." "It head on," Ned replied, "but not with lies." "Then you'd better teach your daughter to keep her blade sharp, and your sons to stop trusting the wrong people." Ned didn't smile. He couldn't. Across the city, In the Red Keep's darkest cells, Cersei Lannister sat alone, her dress torn, her eyes red, and yet, somehow, she smiled. They think they've won, she whispered to herself. Let them, because she had a final card, and its name was Joffrey. The news spread like wildfire. Queen Cersei imprisoned, the king dead. Lord Eddard Stark assuming control of the realm as protector of the realm until a rightful heir was named. And then came the question no one dared ask out loud. Who was the rightful heir? Ned sat in the council chambers, the same room that had once echoed with Robert's drunken laughter. Now it was silent, tense, a storm waiting to break. Stannis is the king, Ned said firmly, by all laws of succession. Littlefinger twirled a quill between his fingers. Yes, yes. Cold Stannis, with no charm, no allies, and no patience. You'll crown a man even the lords barely tolerate. Ned didn't waver. It's the law. That law might drown. Us in war, Varys said gently. Renly's already raising men in the Reach. The Tyrells stand with him. Renly has no claim, Ned snapped. Renly has power, Littlefinger countered. And charm he'll win men by the thousands. And let's not forget Stannis has no sons. Ned's eyes darkened. And what would you suggest? That I bend the knee to a boy king who isn't even Robert's son? Let the Lannisters keep their hold on the throne, Littlefinger smiled faintly. You've already torn the queen down. Do you really think the lion won't roar back? We have Jaime, Ned said. He'll keep Tywin at bay. At that Varys frowned. I wouldn't be so sure. In the dungeons, Cersei Lannister sat cross-legged, her smile sharpened by hunger and hate. Across from her stood a shadow, not Jaime, not a guard. It was Tywin's raven, a red-haired sellsword with a lion pin. Lord Tywin sends his regards, the man said with a half-bow. And instructions. Cersei's eyes lit up like flame. Then listen closely. Back in the Tower of the Hand, Sansa sat with her father. She had cried for days after Robert's death, confused and broken. But now there was something harder in her eyes. Is Joffrey really not the king? She asked quietly. No, Ned said. He never was. Then what happens to him? Ned looked at her, torn. That depends. If he yields peacefully, he'll be sent to Casterly Rock, a ward, a warning. If he fights, we may have no choice. Sansa swallowed. Hard, he's cruel, she whispered. He always was. I didn't want to believe it. Ned placed a hand over hers. You see clearer than most do at your age. I'm proud of you, Sansa looked up. Can I still go home? Ned smiled. Faintly, that's what I'm fighting for. Arya, meanwhile, was training harder than ever. Syrio Forel watched her move, twisting, ducking, stabbing. You move like a wolf, he said, but you must strike like the shadow. I want to be ready, she muttered, panting. For what? She didn't answer, but her eyes burned with a fierce, sharp anger, the kind that doesn't forget. The day the Raven returned from Dragonstone, Ned called the council again. Stannis had responded. He was coming, with ships, with fire, with vengeance, and he had one demand: crown me, or face me. Jaime sat with Ned later that evening, drinking in silence. You've brought the wolves to howl, Jaime muttered, and the stag is sharpening his antlers. Do you really think the lion will stay silent? No, Ned said, but if you're still with me, I am. Then I'll need you to go to Tywin. Jaime's head snapped up. Are you mad? You're the only one he'll listen to. He's your father. You want to stop this from turning into full war. Talk him down. Get him to stand down, or tell him what we have, the letters, the truth. Proof of Circe's crimes, of the illegitimacy. Jaime stared at him like he was mad. You're asking me to walk into the lion's den with a torch? Ned nodded. I am, and you trust me. I have to. Jaime finished his wine. Then I'll ride tonight. But as he left the city gates, a boy with golden curls and a crown of false gold stood in the shadows, watching Joffrey Baratheon, and he smiled, because in secret he had been writing letters too, one to his grandfather, one to the north, and one to the Sellswords, who had no loyalty, only price. The morning broke with red skies, and the people of King's Landing muttered the old saying, red sky in the morning, the gods are warning. They were right. Jaime Lannister rode hard through the King's Road, dust rising behind him like smoke. The city was already turning, shifting uneasily under the weight of too many truths. Word had begun to leak. Cersei imprisoned, the king dead. The bastards legitimized, the Lannisters exposed. Every merchant, knight, and baker was starting to choose a side or sell one. But far to the west, in Casterly Rock, Tywin Lannister already knew Joffrey's letter had reached him first. Back in King's Landing, Ned Stark stood in the throne room. Eyes narrowed as Renly Baratheon strolled in, freshly arrived from the Reach with 30 banners behind him. His green cloak shimmered like envy. You move quickly, Ned said. I move wisely, Renly replied with that ever-present smile. You should learn the difference. You have no claim, Ned said. You are Robert's youngest brother. Renly chuckled. And yet I'm the only one charming enough to keep this realm from tearing itself apart. You mean buying loyalty. I mean commanding it. The Tyrells are with me. Half the South bends the knee, while you wait for Stannis to burn it all down in the name of honor. Ned stepped closer, lowering his voice. If you try to take the throne, you'll make an enemy of both me and Stannis, and you won't live long enough to enjoy your crown. Renly's smile vanished for a second. And if I don't, you'll hand the realm to the coldest man alive, he said. Let's see how long your northerners enjoy that rule. He turned and left. That same night, Sansa walked the halls alone, ignoring the stares of courtiers who now bowed, unsure whether she was still betrothed or a fallen lady. Joffrey hadn't been seen in days. She found Arya in the training yard again, sweat glistening on her brow, blade in hand. You never stop, Sansa said. I can't afford to. Arya didn't even look up. I heard the Queen was trying to have Bran killed again, she said. That's what they said. Sansa blinked. She's locked in the cells. Arya turned sharply. Cells don't stop snakes. In the deepest parts of the Red Keep, Varys visited Cersei in her cell. She sat cross-legged on the floor, hair unkempt, face pale, but not defeated. I've seen rats with more dignity, Varys said gently. She laughed. You've seen rats with less purpose, I'll wager. You've lost, my lady. Even your son has gone quiet. Cersei's eyes gleamed. Joffrey was never quiet. If he's silent now, it's because he's planning something. Varys frowned. You still believe he'll save you? No, she said. I believe he'll avenge me. And she wasn't wrong. In a tavern at the edge of Flea Bottom, 3 men sat counting coins, their armor mismatched, their blades rusted but sharp. One of them, a Sellsword named Malin, unfolded a letter with the golden seal of House Baratheon, or what was left of it. Their mission was simple. Eddard Stark dies in 3 days. Make it look like rebellion. You will be paid double if his daughters vanish in the chaos. Signed, King Joffrey. In the Tower of the Hand, Ned stood at his map table, eyes on the movement of troops, fleets, and threats. Every piece screamed war, and yet, in that moment, what struck him most was how still the city felt. A false peace, a held breath. Lord Stark, a voice called from the doorway. It was a raven handler. The bird on his shoulder wore a silver band from Winterfell. Ned took the letter quickly. It was from Robb. Father, the banners are called. We ride to your side. The North will not forget. We will not forgive. The wolf answers the lions. Roar. Ned closed his eyes, overwhelmed with both pride and dread. His son was coming. The Starks were moving, but so were the enemies, hiding in plain sight. The next day, Arya watched a strange man loiter near the kitchens. He didn't wear a sigil, didn't carry a banner, but his eyes were wrong. Cold, calculating, too calm for a city at war. That night, she followed him. What she found would change everything. Arya moved like a shadow through the alleys behind the Red Keep, feet silent against stone, heart pounding against her ribs. The man she followed, the one with no sigil and a Sellswood's walk, slipped through the rear entrance of a butcher's shop long after it had closed. No lantern, no hesitation. She pressed her ear to the wall and heard voices inside. You know the plan, the man said. The Northern Lord dies during the riot. We spark it. We control it. The girl goes missing. In the smoke, a pause. Then laughter. No one will suspect the king's own order. Arya's breath caught in her throat. Her fingers tightened around the small blade Syrio had taught her to carry like a limb. They were going to kill her father, and take Sansa, all under Joffrey's command. She didn't wait. She ran. In the Tower of the Hand, Ned was meeting with Varys again. The spider seemed even more disturbed than usual. Your daughter has sharp ears, he said, entering without knocking, and sharper instincts. What's happened? Ned asked. A plot, Varys said. Old as the city. A riot's being staged. Tomorrow, during the king's morning parade, a cover for chaos. In the confusion, you die. Your daughters disappear. Ned stood quickly. Joffrey, or those acting for him, it matters little. What matters is that by this time tomorrow, the Lannisters will have fire and fear on their side again. Ned's voice went low. Where is Arya? Running, Varys said, but toward you, thankfully. Arya burst into the tower, clothes dusty, face flushed, eyes wide with fury and terror. They're going to kill you, she cried. And take Sansa, I heard them. Ned knelt beside her, gripping her shoulders. You did well, you did so well. I didn't know who to tell. You told the right one. That night, Ned sent ravens, every raven he could, to Robb, to Stannis, to the Vale, even one to Daenerys Targaryen in exile, though he hated himself for it. He doubled the guard at the gate. And then, in the darkest hour before dawn, he summoned Sansa. She came with a tired grace, eyes hollowed from sleepless nights. Dreams of broken thrones and shattered promises. There's no wedding, he said softly. There never was. I was wrong to promise you, I know, she said. Her voice didn't break. I know who he is now. You're not safe here. Neither of you are. Are we leaving? Ned looked at her, at Arya, at the daughters he had tried so hard to protect in a city built on lies. Yes, he said, but not yet. We leave. when the wolf is ready to bite. By morning, the morning parade began. Robert's corpse, sealed in gold and red, was dragged through the streets of King's Landing, a mockery of a funeral, a play of grief. Bells rang like war drums. Crowds swelled, and then the riot began, just as planned. A boy threw a stone at a gold cloak. The soldier lashed back. A woman screamed. A fire started near a fruit cart. Then came the stampede, screaming, steel, blood. But what the Lannisters hadn't expected was that Ned Stark had planned to. His men were already in the crowd, hidden, armed, and when the first blade was drawn toward him, it didn't reach. Jaime Lannister returned at the head of a small Northern Lannister loyalist force, 20 blades at his back, all chosen, all loyal to neither gold nor wolf, but truth. Ned stood above the riot, like a man waiting for storm winds, but instead of falling, he walked through it. A riot meant to kill him had turned into an uprising for him. The small folk, once silenced, rose. They shouted for the Queen's imprisonment, for the false prince's lies, for truth. Some called him Warden of the South. Others called him the True Hand. And amidst the smoke, Joffrey was nowhere to be found. Gone, vanished from the Red Keep. At sunset, Varys brought news. He escaped, slipped out through the tunnels, below the city, disguised, with 3 Sells words and a Lannister gold satchel. Where is he headed? Ned asked. Varys looked grim, toward his grandfather, to Casterly Rock, and Tywin will not let this insult go unanswered. Far away, in the Riverlands, Robb Stark's army crossed the Twins, and even farther still, on the seas, Stannis Baratheon's ships pierced the horizon. The game had changed. The wolf was no longer a quiet beast of honor. He had been pushed to the edge, and now he would bite. The war drums echoed louder than ever now, from the frostbitten forests of the north to the golden cliffs of the Rock. All Westeros braced for the storm to come, and at the center of it stood Eddard Stark, the man who once believed honor alone could steer kings. He didn't believe that anymore. In the heart of the Red Keep, Ned called a final council. The air crackled with urgency, the map table a battlefield of ink and pins. Stannis was days away, Robb marching fast through the Riverlands, Renly circling, like a hawk with the Reach at his back. Tywin Lannister, awakened and enraged by his daughter's imprisonment and his grandson's exile, had begun mobilizing. His riders burned farms on the fringes of the Crownlands already. They were running out of time. "We can't hold King's Landing," Ned said, voice low but firm. "Not against Tywin and Renly both." Littlefinger leaned forward, smirking. "Then give it up. Let the lion take it. Let Renly sit the throne. You go home to Winterfell with your girls, and let the South rot in its own lies." "No," Ned said. "Too much blood has been spilled. We see this through." Varys interjected. "You still have options. Stannis is lawful, yes, but rigid. He will rule like a sword drawn tight. Renly will charm the realm. You may not like the game, Lord Stark, but if you want to win it—" "I'm not here to win," Ned interrupted. "I'm here to clean it." Jaime, standing quietly behind Ned, finally spoke. "Then we stop waiting. We strike." At dawn, the bells rang again, not for mourning, but for judgment. Cersei Lannister stood before the court, no longer regal, no longer a queen, but a prisoner. Her golden hair was matted, her dress torn, but her voice still venom. "You fools think this is over." She spat. "Joffrey will return with an army. My father will burn your banners to ash. The rock does not forget. Ned approached, a rolled parchment in hand. You confessed to poisoning Robert, he said. Cersei smiled, and I'd do it again. He unrolled the document. Your children are not of Baratheon blood. You conspired to place a false heir on the throne. You killed my men, ordered my son's death. For these crimes, do it. She hissed, say the words. Behead the queen. Ned's jaw tightened. Silence swept the room. Then he said, Cersei Lannister, you are exiled. You will be escorted to the Silent Sisters. You will take the vows and never speak again. If you break them, you die. Cersei's smile faltered. Just slightly, you're sparing me. No, Ned said. I'm burying you alive. Across the realm, the wolves gathered. Robb Stark reached Harrenhal. His army, young and furious, swore to march all the way to the capital if needed. But when the Raven arrived bearing Ned's seal, Robb halted. The King's Landing was already theirs. Stannis arrived a day later. He disembarked cold and quiet eyes like stone. He met Ned on the castle walls. The two men stared at each other, fire and frost, for a long moment. Your letters were precise, Stannis said. I deal in truth, Ned replied, and I deal in law. Crown me Lord Stark. Ned nodded. I will, after the realm agrees. Law doesn't require agreement, and I won't rule by fear. Stannis studied him, then nodded once. I'll wait, but not long. Renly, upon hearing the news, paused his campaign. The Tyrells balked. No war yet, they said. No war yet. And far away, in the Westerlands, Tywin Lannister received Joffrey with a silent stare. You're my blood, Tywin said at last. But you're a mistake I intend to correct. Joffrey scowled. You'll help me take back what's mine. No, Tywin replied. I'll help you survive. And that starts by shutting your mouth. Joffrey never learned the value of silence, but he was learning fear. Back in the north, ravens flew toward Winterfell. One carried a single sentence. Justice is done. We're coming home, Catelyn cried when she read it. Bran, now stronger in his chair, whispered to the wind, I knew he'd win. And in the Red Keep, Arya stood alone on the training grounds, blade in hand. Syrio was gone, but her father had returned. She didn't need lessons anymore. She had survived the Game of Thrones. That night, Ned Stark walked the battlements as the torches flickered over his city. King's Landing no longer felt like a lion's den, not yet a wolf's home either, but something new. A city reborn in blood and truth. Honor hadn't killed him. This time it had saved the realm. But he knew peace in Westeros was always temporary. Somewhere out there, the next fire already burned, but for now the wolf rested.